Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sy Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Sy Huffer. I'm the lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And the way this podcast works, if you are new, we invite different friends of mine from around the country to come on and just talk about an area of their life that they're an expert in, that they have experience in, or just a story of how God has changed their life or how they've flourished at life and relationships in that area. And the reason this is so effective is because I believe I have the best friends in the world, and that they help me flourish at life and relationships, and me sharing them with you will help you flourish in those two areas as well. And so I have today a good friend of mine on. His name is Don Eckerty. And so Don, can you share with everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, and how you ended up, I guess, down here in Naples?
Why, certainly. I appreciate just being able to talk with the group there at the gathering today. My wife Marquita and I did move to the Naples area. We concluded just a long history of ministry, about 19 years in the pastoral evangelical role, and then about 25 plus years as clinical director and founder of the Christian Counseling Clinic in Battle Creek, where we developed a program where we had 250 counseling sessions a week. Plus, people traveled from all over the country, and over 3,000 of them, and they stayed for 3 weeks and met with psychiatrists and psychologists and social workers, pastoral counselors, licensed uh, uh, um, uh, professional counselors, and so forth. And we've been involved in seeing lots of people in life trauma, life change, and transition, and was able to offer a multiple modality approach. Marquita and I have benefited ourselves from being in ministry over this period of time. We moved here to the Naples area because we wanted to spend some time with our children, our grandchildren, our great grandkids that live in Naples. And we came across the gathering. What an exciting time that has been. And Sy, you have mentioned to me that after coming to the Naples area, you met with county officials who mentioned that one of the greatest needs in Collier County was mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And so we continue to want to minister, continue to want to be just used there. I do professional counseling by telehealth now. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm I'm a licensed psychologist, and I'm an ordained pastor. So that's just kind of a little bit of who we are, and all. And I guess too, I'm something I'm doing currently is I'm editing some books that hopefully will be available before too long. So that's kind of where we have come from and who we are right now.
That's right. And thank you for sharing all of that. And just to make sure everyone's clear, Battle Creek, you said that's in Michigan, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so are you a Wolverines fan then?
Well, I have to be careful which side of the fence that I talk from there, because it ignites a huge sense of energy when I talk about whether I have a green hat or a blue hat on.
Boy, it's something up there, isn't it?
Oh my! Yes,
I walked
yes.
into my my roommate in college, and he had a Michigan Wolverines bedspread that he slept under every night. And he taught me the whole "Go Blue" greeting that Michigan fans give to each other. And so
Indeed.
anyway, that's awesome. So we met. I loved helping people kind of hear, like, how people become friends, and we met in a pretty crazy way. It was really, I think, of God that He connected the two of us together. What, from your perspective, like, what is it? What was that story, like, how we got connected?
Well, my wife Marquita and I, we wanted to start a Bible study in our neighborhood, and so we put a notice on the network, just seeing if we could come up with other people. And Monica answered that, and then she immediately turned me over to you and said Sy would work you over, and. And so, in our communications, we found that some of the people in our earlier life, we knew that I had gone to Bible college with, and that I had been in training with, and then some of the schools that I had either taught in, or Bible college I had taught in, or was a student in, myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how we met, and then there was just a whole series of bumping into each other in the neighborhood and holding each other accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife Marquita and I have been attending the gathering.
That's right. And this mutual so when Monica messaged me, is like, hey, there's this guy, him and his wife are looking to lead a Bible study or do a Bible study, and you have a mutual friend. And I was like, well, who? She said, Ken Idleman. And Ken Idleman, if you don't know that name, he was my first, like, senior pastor boss that I worked for in ministry. I interned for him for a year. They then hired me on, and I served with him for an additional 3 years at Crossroads Christian Church in Evansville, Indiana. He is like one of my ministry mentors, people that I emulate and love deeply and dearly. And you guys went to college together. And
Yeah,
even more than that, you graduated from Lincoln Christian University, correct?
that's correct.
And I graduated from Lincoln Christian for my master's, and so we have the same alma mater for some of our education, mutual friends. And honestly, you have been one of the people I've loved the most, getting to know, going out for meals and coffees, and just getting to talk about whatever in life. It's so enriching, and I've truly loved getting to know you and your family. Speaking of your
Well,
family, you have 2 girls. How many kids do you have?
Well, I have 3 daughters.
3
2 of
daughters.
them are just within miles of where
Mm-hmm.
I live here in the Florida area. So,
And the other one's back up in Michigan, right?
yeah, she's still up there.
And how many grandkids?
We have 4 grandkids and 4 great grandkids.
That's awesome. Wow. Praise
Yeah,
God. Well,
they're
this
just
month, leading up to this Christmas season, we're going to be talking about Jesus as the Prince of Peace. And when He comes to earth, like, that's one of His titles in the incarnation. At Christmas, we talk a lot about that. And that yet at Christmas, so often you're missing peace. That's something we're going to be talking about in our sermons at church. And so I wanted to focus in a little bit and do just a couple of interviews with people that I know about mental health. Like, this peace, this internal peace that we want to have in our lives. So often, anxiety, depression, these types of mental health struggles that we have can rob us of our peace. And so, with you having your background in psychology, in counseling for so many years, I'd love just to ask you, from your wisdom, your experience, just a series of questions about mental health, because it has become a massive epidemic over the last 20 years or so. And so, from your perspective, what does a mental health crisis look like today? Like, where are we at right now in 2025?
what we have described it as an ongoing crisis. With the holiday seasons coming upon us, it reminds us of the ideal. And we talk about peace and we talk about joy and we talk about family togetherness, but that isn't so in a lot of people's lives right now, and the Christian message becomes hard for us to really to personally to adapt to find some fulfillment. Now, that isn't to say that we are not developing young minds and people that do understand and are turned on with this message that is happening today. In fact, I'm more of a positive person as I look rather than a negative person. But the holiday season, there are more suicides that that are being treated in the country than any other time. Of course, we know that there's a growing epidemic of teenage suicide and children's suicide, and we're identifying many of the mental health problems that are occurring with children at early ages, usually around 7, but we can identify them earlier than that. But oftentimes, homes are not happy because parents are not happy. I've evaluated just a lengthy history of children and was able to come up with a diagnosis of what we call the affective disorders of depression or anxiety. And there has been one or more parents in the home of these children that also have been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And of course, uh, one of the issues that we're finding is with the rampant drug abuse that we are still having in our own county and in our own country. That depression is a part of all addictions. And in fact, all addictions are trauma based and deal with uh, uh, ongoing issues that have been unresolved with people that have tried to do self-medications or other things. Now, I would address that, but you see, Christmas, the holidays are also a time where we're reminded that of the changes that have happened. There are people that still, you know, are experiencing grief from the loss of a loved one, a parent, or a marriage, a relationship that didn't work out, or a favorite job, and there's that struggle with what it is. And so the Christian message that talks about joy to the world sometimes, oftentimes, is the answer to a life's journey, and yet there is the struggles for applying that, also, Now, mental health is a broad perspective. We inherit some of the neurochemistries from family, and we do things to our bodies that causes our sense of self to not adjust, and then we latch on to ideas, and sometimes we call them dreams, that just do not work and have some consequences, Sy. And when you're preaching Sunday morning, there will be people who are coming in who are looking for solutions, who are looking for a sense of a community who understands the journey that they're on. Now. Some mental health is not going to be easily taken care of and go away because of addictions in the home, because of systems of emotional turmoil and trauma with concepts. There's a lack of forgiveness of that people have toward neighbors and for family members. Marquita and I, we're grieving. We've had this past week neighbors in Illinois, and there was a death this week, and that included a history of a mother and a father who divorced and who had a long history of unresolved conflicts that are now passed on to their children. Oh, how we grieve for those who have been grieving for the consequences of that experience is there. So those are some of the things that I would like to just to share with you and your group.
Yeah, so like that was just so, I mean, you just cram packed so much content of just helping us understand mental health in such a short amount of time, and it was so good. I was trying to keep up. So like there's
Yeah.
some things that you said that were just like gold that I wanted to like just kind of sit on for a second. And
Mhm.
really this question of like where did this mental health crisis come from? You're basically saying it comes from multiple directions, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
unresolved grief
Mhm.
can produce a mental health crisis in your life,
Mhm.
and not as an unresolved grief, but just ongoing grief. So addictions, usually
Mhm.
addiction, you said, is tied typically with depression, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Mental health comes from if your parents have mental health struggles, that's going to be in the home. That's going to be part of your family of origin story, and you're going to probably have mental health struggles as well.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
this the other thing that you said was really intriguing to me was you talked about people's dreams, like having the wrong dream, maybe the mismanaged expectations about life and what
Mhm.
you think life is going to be like, what it should be
Mhm.
like, and where you currently are. That gap between those two things,
Mhm.
what can exist if you don't know how to resolve that gap in your mind, your heart, anxiety and depression begins and suicidal thoughts begin to seep in. Is that all accurate? Am I reflecting clearly what you're explaining? Like this mental health really comes from all over.
Yeah, just as we're in a performance-based world, we're taught that um, if we perform well in our school work or in our athletics, where there's supposed to be a sense of happiness. Well, we have to balance out that with the amount of hugs we get and the amount of encouragement we give to one another, and our understanding that it's really a blessing to be in family settings or to be just in neighborhood settings. Sometimes I sit out on the edge of my drive and in a little a chair. And as kids come by, I just say something funny or an encouraging them and all of this. And it's almost like, they when they start coming up to my driveway, they start looking to my garage door to see if I'm going to be there to smile at them and ask them about their day. And so, we have to have that positive expressions, and that's where you at the gathering are just really building positive relationship experiences with each other as on various levels. One generation passing on to another generation the things that do work.
Where do you think? So, like you said, passing on from one generation to the next, something different. There, the research I've seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we've seen a substantial increase in mental health struggles over the past couple of decades. Is that still accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think happened from one generation to the next that has contributed to such a spike in mental health struggles?
Well, I think we've become more complicated as a society. At one time, all the children had to do was just make good grades or, sense of right behavior. Now we have technology that oftentimes with adults and all age groups, we become disconnected with things that uh, do work with us socializing and us getting along and all. There are adults as well as children who have segregated themselves to technology in the evening rather than being together.
Hmm.
And I think being together is so very, very vital. One of the first things I ask people is where they go to church. And because there are churches that promote, that sense of togetherness, and there's those churches that promote isolation, where people can go and they can leave without really talking to anybody,
Hmm.
and go, wow, your community is feeding on itself. So where have we become disconnected? Well, in those areas where I think the technology is now still, uh, we're discovering what that all means. And then I know I'm regressing some too when I talk about the huge epidemic of drugs today, and particularly I'm referring to cannabis or marijuana, and how that confuses a person's ability to understand themselves and understand some sense of life direction and life application there. But not only in the cannabis, there are other addictive type things too. I think the Christian community has done more to create helpful literature for marriages and family than really any other segment of our society. But the Christian community is only a percentage of what is around us. There's a and getting a message off of the book pages into neighborhoods and life structure, I think, is still a challenge for it all. Now we're having a lot of unfortunate things, school shootings
Hmm. Hmm.
that happen, behavior that happens in the workplace that is scary.
Hmm.
It's in that sometime we have to address about whether we are imposing our traumas onto the traumas of the world.
No, I think that what you said at the beginning there really helps. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think what you said there at the beginning is empathetic. Like, life's more complicated than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Another way of, like, we're more aware of the complications of life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we have social media and we're more connected than ever. It's a
Mm-hmm.
global world. We're also more aware of all of the atrocities of life that are happening, the pressures of life. We are more aware of the success stories around the world and are constantly comparing ourselves to everybody else, when used to you weren't aware of all of those things. Like, you didn't have that the world at your fingertips where you could know every crisis happening in the world right
Mm-hmm.
now in one moment. Where used to, it would take weeks or months or even years to hear about something that happened. And that
Mm-hmm.
awareness, I don't know if we were intended to be aware of the weight of the hell on earth reality of a fallen world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, we're finite beings, and to be aware of all of the things going on in the world at the same time, that is just not heaven on earth. Like, that's hard. That's
Mm-hmm.
hard. That awareness is hard to take. What do you think some of the best things our listeners could do to help with their anxiety and their depression? Let me just zero in on those two right now. Anxiety and depression, that is not necessarily against medication. People might have chronic anxiety or chronic depression where they are medically treating that with their medication. But what if someone was maybe not necessarily to that point yet, and they wanted to, or maybe they wanted to replace their medication with some other ways in which to to really help to self-regulate or to self-medicate or whatever you want to call it, to help replace medication or supplement medication? What are some practices, some things that you would recommend people to do to help do that?
Well, certainly. And so as I recommend some of these, I realize in some settings it's difficult there. Um, Several years ago, in Christian literature, there was written a book on depression by Frank Minirth and Paul Meyer called Happiness is a Choice. And so I had Paul Meyer in my car one time, and I said, "That's a dumb title. How can you give um, a book to a depressed person and just tell them that happiness is a choice?" and, you know, and he said, "Well, um, uh, that people either learn to deal with their depression and choose to deal with their depression, or they don't deal with their depression." So, uh, today we understand if our home is having some behavioral problems that we're not working through, whether there's sadness or a sense of lack of being meaningful in our relationships, whether there's been a disconnect with spouses or a disconnect with the children. And we need to choose to deal with those things before it gets out of hand and becomes clinical or becomes behavioral. Now, I have a funny story I tell, and all. I one time had a Chevrolet pickup. Oh, I liked my Chevrolet pickup a lot. And on the dash there was a light that came on, and I got the manual out, and I read that when that light comes on, that it was just a minor difficulties, and that sometime I should take it into a Chevrolet dealer to look at. But I didn't care. I just let it keep on. I just drove and drove and drove. And after a while, that pickup, well, it needed to be taken into a Chevrolet. And so after they assessed the problem, they came out and they told me that my problem was going to cost $1,200. And I said, "Hey, read the manual. The manual says it was just a minor problem." And there was no, they said, "It was when the light came on, but you waited until it became a major problem in our, you know." So, where we are and with our friends, ourselves, our families, we need to identify when happiness and joy, contentment, a sense of being able to accomplish things and up to the to our own potential is really happening. And if when that is not happening, there will be red flags that'll come up. There will be arguments that'll be unresolved. There will be systems of home connectedness that are not being worked out. Father and sons will have a disconnect, as well as daughters and their mothers. Of course, I'm know that daughters and fathers also have a very powerful role. And when those things do not happen, it's time for us to take it on, because if we let them go, there's going to be life decisions that have unfortunate consequences just because we're not adding up two and two that benefits who we are as God has intended to us. Within us, we have to acknowledge that God doesn't want us to have anxiety, doesn't want us to have depression, and He's placed within all of us that readjustment, that realignment. Now we acknowledge that if we have an infection from a cut that on our finger that God has made our body to heal itself, but also God has made us with that ability for us to heal our emotions and heal the things that happen, the disappointments when that occur with us on our own jobs and in the family there. So recognizing, addressing whether we are progressing, we're pleased with this is important. I tell parents to please sit down and talk about their children's, the parents' goals for each one of their children. What do they see in how they're developing with their unique personalities and their unique sense of abilities? And if those children are not progressing with that expectation, why? What are they missing? Are they not being supported by the others enough that's there? I've had a struggle to grandparent from a distance. So what did I do? I quit my job and I traveled clear across the country so I could just be a grandpa. And so I think we need to have that sense of outline too, Sy.
No, that's so good. I love the whole idea of okay, like what are the goals? Like what do you want for your kids? I remember when my wife and I were expecting our first, we went to this I guess pregnancy class or whatever they used to call it. Lamont, is it Lamont? I don't know, something weird. But anyway, we went to this class. It was really good, and they had us do this exercise where it was like, okay, here's all these cards. How do you want the pregnancy to go? Do you want to have, at the home or at the hospital? Do you want to have music playing or not? Do you want it to be, do you want it to be totally natural or do you anesthesia? And we went through all of these things. And you had these cards, and you would choose what you wanted it to be like. And then they said, okay, oh, this crisis happened. Take 2 of the cards away. And so as a couple, you would choose which 2 cards to take away. Okay, now this happened. Take 2 more of the cards away. And so we did that over and over and over again until we both, and every couple in the whole room, were only holding 2 cards. And the 2 cards were healthy mama, healthy baby. Right? And it was like, that's what we all really want. Like, yes, we would love to be able to have a natural birth or, not, or love to be at home or the hospital. If it doesn't go exactly the way you want, but you end up with a healthy baby and a healthy mama, that's what you want at the end of the day. And I like the idea of us as parents taking stock of like, what do you want for your kids? And it really is, I want my kid to feel loved. I want my kid to be set up for success in life, right? And I want my kid to know that to have what they need to survive and to thrive at life. I don't need them to be the best soccer player or the best, my 2 girls, soccer player and dancer in their classes, right? And when I put that upon them, that becomes such performance production based that it does set them up for failure with thinking that their identity and their value is based on what they achieve and do and accomplish. And we know that that's not what the gospel is. It's not what Jesus is. And that is so much what we're trying to undo in your adult life, is your value is equal to what you do, not who you are. I was at this counseling. I was at this pastor retreat, and they had another counselor come in, and he talked about 60 skills that reduce stress and increase in resilience and capacity.
Exactly. Okay, good.
And he gave some concrete things like sleep, hydration, journaling out negative thoughts, talking through issues. What are, relationships, connecting with people who are life-giving to you? What are some concrete things? Like maybe talk to the person who has anxiety right now. What's 1 or 2 things you'd recommend for them to do that would be something that would be within their control that they could lean into, some practices? And then talk to someone who has depression right now. 1 or 2 things that you would recommend.
Well, talking and listening skills are very important. That's where we, as a body of Christ, we can be present for one another, and to be there for one another. You you know there are people come to church and they seek out just a handshake from another person because that's of significance for them. So being with one another, I think, is a very important. It's also important for us to understand what is healthy in sleeping and in hydration and food. We could go on and that, and make sure that we have that sense of balance in our life. Now, we can get our body out of balance. I mean, even Bible characters like David and Moses and Hannah and Elijah and uh, Jonah and Josiah and all these were people who were in the Bible and did great things and wonderful things, but they oftentimes had to stop and just get themselves back into their into a group. I think being within healthy groups for adults, whether it's small Bible study groups or whether it's neighbors and all. I have a neighbor that comes over to my house probably once a week and just asks me if I need anything. I go, wow, wow. Isn't that powerful to offer ourselves in the community to be helpful and to other people? I think if we've chosen to be married, it's our responsibility to make it a good marriage. And if it doesn't mean very different. If Mama's not happy, nobody's happy, because if Papa's not happy, no one's happy, either with in that. And so we need to focus on the models that we have brought into our uh, our our home and into our life. Now, if we're depressed and we have anxiety that is prolonged, that goes beyond a legitimate sense of time, we need to be talking to professionals about that. Now, Sy, one of the most difficult struggle that I had in a clinic is that people would come in and they would have just a whole history of failure. Well, they talked to their friend, or they talked to someone else that went through the same problem, or they talked to a pastor, or they talked to, and so I had to work through an awful lot of failures in their past. Sometimes we need to talk to trained counselors and psychologists and pastors who know what they're talking about and that are trained. So I encourage people that they need to. Now, sometimes our body gets out of whack and we need medication, and that's not true. Now, one of the things that's so very important that I tell people that is medication can only help with up to 60% of the reductions in depressive symptoms or anxiety. That's only 60%. What do you do with the other 40% of that? You ally with someone to come alongside you, step by step, from where you are to where you can go with those things. Now, Bible study, um, you know, is important. Prayer is important. Spending our alone time and sitting down with a person who is close to us and having them ask us, "How are you doing?" is powerful. And to be legitimate enough, to be honest enough to tell them how we are doing, to get out of what's inside of us. And all. We used to say that impression without expression will lead to depression. We've got to get stuff out
That's good.
there. And life ain't always a bowl of cherries. We have to recognize and be there with each other.
Impression without expression leads to depression. That is
Yeah.
powerful. We have
Well,
our model at our church for our home groups seems to lend itself to be to help people with expression. Like we really try to, in our groups, not have one teacher that explains the passage and has another study or whatever. It really is, what's going on in your life? What's God doing in your life? What are you being challenged by in this text? What are you learning about yourself and God? And what are you going to do this week in response to it? And our goal is just to listen to people and to allow people to have the space to share, because the reality is we live so much these busy lives, or we stack activity with kids and work and home up. We don't have the space to be heard or to hear others. And it is vital. It's vital that we listen to each other. What role do you think can faith and religion play in mental health?
Well, of course, we would look at the physical, we would talk at the emotional, we would talk with the spiritual. And if you let down on any one of that balance, you're in trouble. So spirituality, that sense of becoming connected, that sense of having purpose and meaning is important. People experience stuff, physical health struggles. We know that diabetes has a certain amount of depression that goes along with it. We know that nutrition, we could go on with a long system of, we've got to take care of our physical, we've got to take care of our emotional. Now, Frank Minderth, that I mentioned before, and I were having a lunch in Texas, or having a breakfast in Texas. And he said he would ask people, well, why are you depressed? And why do you want to stay depressed? And people would hee-haw around with it. Now, what are we doing to take care of our physical? What are we doing to take care of our emotional? I want to laugh. Boy, I want to have a system of just enjoyment, and if I don't have it, it's my fault as well as I might be blaming to other people. Now, the spiritual aspect, there's some sense of connectedness that in my history as being a minister, I had the opportunity of standing and conducting many funerals, and I would try to shake hands with as many people afterwards who had a sense of, I want the message of eternal life to be something that I understand, that I can apply there. Well, it's there. The message of the gospel isn't rocket science. The message of the gospel is for us to get on to and put in place and run with it. And so I think that's important. Spirituality is our leverage to making everything else really work there.
I love that. We at the gathering, we have 3 values that really center around these 3 base needs that people have for identity, belonging, and purpose. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like people want to know who they are. These are like the great questions of every worldview. Like who are we? Who am I? Who are we? Like what group do I belong to? Who are my people? And then why am I here? Like what's my purpose for life? Identity, belonging, and purpose. And we at the gathering, we say that your past does not define you because of the gospel. Like what Jesus did on the cross defines you. That's your identity. You're a child of God, loved by God, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That your presence shouldn't isolate you. That's the belonging piece. That you have a family of God, and that's true because of the church, that you're invited to participate and connect with these people who love you, want to listen to you, be there for you no matter what you're going through. And that the purpose is that your future will surprise you when you follow Jesus, because you're now tied to the mission of God, to eradicate evil and injustice and establish beauty and replace hell on earth with heaven on earth through the way we love others, the way we are an instrument of righteousness in the world. We're a light in darkness by how we love people and serve people wherever we live, work, learn, and play. And so that's kind of what I hear you talking about spirituality is really, if I hear you right, is talking about like, who do you belong to, your connection with God and with others, and what is your purpose? Like, why are you here? Is that really how you would break down like spirituality, and then how that intersects with depression and anxiety?
Well, okay, there's another point that I want to give in addition to what you have mentioned, which was really, really good. In fact, I'd like to have a copy of everything you said. I might use it sometime. And I'll quote you. There's a psychological concept of resilience. Resilience is where we can go through the excitement and the disappointment, and we can handle it. We can manage happiness or disappointment with our vocational or the stuff that we experience. So many parents today are disappointed with their children, their performance or other kinds of things. So there and go, wow, mom, dad, get through it. They're going to grow up. And some days they might even say, my dad taught me, and my dad taught me. I have a daughter who is she's a corporate executive, and one time she said at a meeting that she was at her meeting she had that she kept saying, my dad taught me, my dad taught me, my dad taught me. And so the leader of the meeting says, can we bring your dad into the
We want him. I think that's a good point. That resilience piece is so important. We try to teach our kids about grit, right? Like grit is one of the intangibles of life that it's not on a report card. You can't test it. You don't get a grade for grit. But it really is one of those make it or break it intangibles in life that either you have it or you don't. And you need somebody who has it to help produce it in you. And it's either in my this is so funny. My dad taught me that you either learn enough that you want to change, or you hurt enough that you have to.
Oh,
And that in that element of like grit is like you can either produce it, in advance of what's going to happen in life, or life's going to beat the living tar out of you, and you're either going to have to develop it, sink or swim in the moment or not. If someone listening is like, this is so good, I need more than, a 45-minute long podcast. I'd like help. I'd like to talk to a Christian counselor or someone to help guide me through this. What would you recommend? Like, what steps would someone take? Where would you send them to find a counselor that could be a good partner with them in their journey?
Well, certainly pastors, ministers, and certainly medical professionals or people who are in the people helping field know who is available in their area that has a Christian perspective with with different expertises. As an example, a physician might know who are in the community that is a Christian and can deal with trauma, or can deal with unresolved issues like anger, or that's affecting their health, or with grief and that kind of thing. So the first person I would encourage people to talk with is their pastor, or with their medical professional there. Now, there are national organizations like Focus on the Family that has a whole list of people who have met Christian criteria in various parts of the country. And of course, we can all do an internet search about Christian counseling in the area. But an important thing that I mentioned to you is not all counseling, just because it's Christian, is necessarily our choice. Our our choice needs to be someone who has specific training and experience and efficacy in where we are going. Now, I do a telehealth conference with people, and I realize that telehealth doesn't fit for everybody. uh, that was there. I would never talk with someone who was suicidal or because I know that there are people in their community that needs to deal with it. Now I can talk with suicidal people and help them become connected with those resources that are in the community and all. But I'm going to be repeating myself. It's very important to look for people who are recognized with the training
Mm.
and the experience in the particular issues that are there. Lovely friend of mine, she was a psychiatrist, and she was just an expert in bipolar disorders. She knew it. And our name was Dr. Aurora Anders. In fact, I hired her to work on my staff for a period of time, and she would tell people, "Oh, you're bipolar." She says, you come and you talked with me. You only talk with me 2 weeks, and we get it all taken care of. And in 2 weeks, you won't be bipolar anymore. Take my medication." She says, "I'm too expensive for you to talk to me." And of course, I give that as a simple, because sometimes if we choose a medication route, we have to understand that many physicians and experts using medications have to go through a whole series of trial and error before we are addressing the right biochemicals and the right dosage and that kind of thing, and the person's lifestyle. So when I tell that story with Dr. Andrews, I know that that's not, I wouldn't apply that to everybody. Now, sometimes people will say, "Oh, I have talked with so-and-so about grief, or who is a professional, or I have seen someone when I just couldn't get through my depression and I needed medication." And sometimes that's a good referral, but other times now, in all situations, whether it's medical or mental health, the question that I ask is, "Hey, doc, are you a Christian?" Because I want to hit their life perspective.
Yeah,
If they're making major decisions about how I'm putting together two and two, I want there to be an eternal direction in this, and
that's right.
not just a situational. No. So I ask them, hey, you a Christian? And many of them will sit down and from that time on have a unique conversation with me, because they know that they and I are on the same footing,
Hmm.
and we just don't have to talk about meds.
So, so Don, if someone wanted to, I mean, are you is your counseling availability accessible to anyone who wants to sign up to see you, even if you're a counselor, or is that something that's primarily done through an insurance company?
Well, I always I make myself available to the Christian community. Always, always. That's part of what I call ministry,
Hmm.
and I care for it. Now, if people have medical insurance, I can certainly tap into that, because most insurances across the nation can. But so a lot of people I see pro bono, a lot of people I see with insurance, and some people so choose to talk with me and even pay me with something.
Yeah,
And sometimes they bring me chocolate cake.
we'll take that. What would be the process? Is you have a website, or do you have an email address, something that you would ask people to contact?
No, if they wanted to contact me, they would go through the agency that I founded and that I'm part of, and that's the Christian Counseling Center of Battle Creek, Michigan. And they, in tune, will have that. Now, many of their insurance companies will have me on a list, and will be offering me my name as someone in battle in Naples, Florida. That is there.
So that's Christian. So say that again. That's the Christian
Counseling Center of Battle Creek.
Is that .com or is it just Google it?
.net.
.net.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Christian Counseling Center of Battle Creek.net.
Why
There's
certainly.
two others I'd recommend. There's some local ones if you want to see someone in person. The SummitBiblicalCounseling.com is a network of counselors here in the Naples, Collier County area, Southwest Florida. Like you said, the Focus on the Family referral list has several counselors they recommend in the area. And one of them was the Rightly Dividing Truth. That's rdtcounseling.com, has several people that you can see as well. And so those are some of the ones that I keep on my referral list. I also refer people to Mr. Don Eckerty. And so anyway, thank you so much, Don, for all of your time and your wisdom today. As always, friends, you can follow us along on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. We have an Instagram account also that kind of helps people know when new episodes are dropping and what they're about and what we're doing. You can do that at Sy Huffer and Friends on Instagram. And as always, don't forget that you are made for more, so don't settle for anything less.